The HighLevel software platform is really good at a lot of different things that a loan officer needs in their mortgage business. However, there's one feature that HighLevel has, or rather a group of features, a functionality that HighLevel has where they rise above any other feature that they offer, and they do better than any other competitor in the space. And that feature is automated lead follow-up. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the methodology that we use internally to help our clients that are generating mortgage leads automate their lead follow-up using the HighLevel software platform. So stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this. All right, so there's a lot of ways that you can get started automating lead follow-up, depending on what lead source you are using, depending on your preferences for following up, depending on a lot of different things. But we're going to take a really simple methodology here that we use internally and take you through kind of a three-step process for automating your lead follow-up. So step one, and the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to build out your pipeline. We're going to define the steps that you want in your sales process, and we're going to build that in a visual pipeline that we can see inside of your HighLevel account. So the way that we're going to do this is we are going to go to opportunities inside of HighLevel. So you'll notice I'm already here. If I'm on the dashboard, right, this is where I'm going. I'm going to the opportunities right here. Okay. Now, in order to create a new pipeline, you're just going to head over to pipeline. You can create as many of these pipelines as you want. Now, this is a very underutilized feature in my opinion. A lot of loan officers should be having different pipelines for different lead sources, especially when you start considering some internet lead sources versus maybe a live transfer service versus realtor referrals, right? You shouldn't necessarily combine all of those into one pre-application pipeline like you see right here. So I'm going to walk you through, if I was creating a pipeline for, say, realtor referrals, how would I do that? Well, first up, we're going to go to create new pipeline. So we have the pipeline right here, and I'm going to call this realtor referrals. Okay. Stage one. Well, the first stage, now, if I'm working internet leads, I don't want internet leads that haven't responded to the automated follow-up to be in my pipeline yet, because internet leads are going to carry like a 40 to 50% response rate if you're doing things right. And so for you to track the other 50 to 60% of leads in a visual pipeline that don't ever respond to the automated follow-up, probably not a good idea. But with realtor referrals, we want to visually see every referral that we get from a realtor, whether we've contacted them or not. So the first stage that we're going to put in here is, we'll call it attempting to contact. Okay. Then the next stage I'm going to do, now I like to have a stage that's like a holding stage, and I call this the engaged stage. And the reason that I like this stage is because we don't want to automate everything. We don't want to automate too much. We don't want to send automations to somebody that is currently engaged with us and have them receive messaging that's irrelevant and makes it obvious that you use automated messaging, because it just creates a really impersonal experience. So I like to have an engaged, or like a holding stage, where I'm not going to have any automations going on in here. Maybe I don't have a disposition for it. I don't know exactly where they're headed after this, but I do know that I'm past attempting to contact and I'm before collecting an application, and I am engaged with them. I'm currently talking to them, and so I don't need any automation. So I'm going to have this contacted engaged stage. Then we can do like warm, hot, and then the final stage of this pipeline should be applied. I never recommend having pipelines that span pre-application and post-application. And the reason why is because no matter what your lead source is, the number one commitment that you can get from a borrower, the number one like conversion event that you should be tracking is a complete 1003, a credit pull basically. And so this kind of helps our clients create that separation in their mind of like, okay, in this pipeline, I have one goal, and that one goal is to get people to apply. Then when I go over to my applications pipeline, that pipeline has one goal, and that's to get them to close a deal. But if my one goal when I talk to an internet lead or to a realtor referral right off the bat is to close a loan, then I'm going to listen for things and talk myself out of taking an application when really what I should be doing is getting a full look at their situation through a 1003. So that's our philosophy. Do with this what you will. I'm going to go ahead and save this pipeline. And we see realtor referrals show up as a pipeline. Now, what does this look like? If we go over here, I'm going to have to, boom. There we go. I'm back there. Oh, I'm already in opportunities. So now I go to opportunities and I go to realtor referrals. And here is my pipeline. So if I had opportunities in here, obviously it would look a little bit different. This is a playground account. So you can see a couple of the opportunity card examples there. Okay. So now the next step, now that you've built out your pipeline, the next step is to build out the automation. Now, this is oversimplifying a process that can be a little bit more complicated. But at the same time, if you've never done this before, don't overcomplicate it, right? Don't overcomplicate it. Follow this process. We've built the pipeline now. We're going to go straight into building the workflow, building the automation. So if you click on automation on the left-hand side, it'll take you into your automation interface. You'll either have workflows only and no campaigns and triggers, or you'll have workflows, campaigns, and triggers. Campaigns and triggers are a deprecated function or a soon-to-be deprecated function. Anything that you can do with campaigns and triggers, you can do with workflows, only much, much better. So we're not going to cover anything with campaigns and triggers. We're just going straight into workflows. So we're going to create a workflow. We're going to start from scratch so that you guys can see this process. Now, for right now, don't worry about what triggers this workflow. To me, that is a step that follows like you building this out. Is like, okay, how am I going to get these leads into here? You want to give a little bit of foresight into it. Obviously, like if it's a realtor referral and you're wanting to use any sort of automated follow-up, then you're going to have a plan for inputting realtor referrals into the system to be able to trigger those automations. So, you want to give a little bit of foresight into that, but you don't end up, there's not much that you can do at this stage that's going to make it harder for you to set up your trigger later. So we're going to go no trigger, and you can do this with any workflow, by the way. You can set up any workflow without a trigger, and that workflow can exist only for you to manually drop contacts into it, which is kind of a cool feature and one that we use fairly often. So we're going to go no trigger right now. Examples of triggers, right? I'm going to do a plug for premium triggers that came out recently. This inbound webhook, this is really cool if you get leads from a lead provider that doesn't have a great interface, doesn't have a Zapier integration. This is a really cool way to be able to get leads from those sources. So more on that in a video to follow. But for right now, we're going to, like I said, go with no triggers here. Now, building out your workflow, we're not going to go too deep into this, but at the same time, you should know what's possible in here. So sending an SMS, this is super basic, like marketing 101 these days. Now, 5-6 years ago, using text message in your marketing was kind of taboo almost. Not the case anymore. This is expected. The one thing that I'll say with this is do everything in your power to make it sound like as human as possible. Like pretend, close your eyes, imagine that you're texting a real person. Like imagine that you're texting a real referral, whatever. Do everything in your power to make these not sound scripted. For whatever reason, as soon as we start like predefining what these messages look like, we lose all of our our personality and our personhood. We become not human and we start talking like a robot. Try and make sure that that's not the case. Templates are a really good way to save messages that you're going to reuse in your automations, because you can come in and reference any of these. So, these are a couple examples. Now we don't have any set up for initial, so I'll just go ahead and go none here. And I'm going to say, you know what? I actually copied and pasted it. I can copy and paste this one. I saved this earlier. So we go in here, boom. This is Michael with ABC Mortgage. I have a custom field for the buyer's agent's name, so I put it in here. This buyer's agent was just telling me you're wanting to buy a new home. Congratulations, is there a good time later today or tomorrow to chat about your options? Now, here's where you have to start thinking about how you're going to trigger this workflow, because I just put in contact buyer's agent as a merge field in here. Now, if that field is not filled out, then this message is going to look stupid. This message is not going to make any sense to the person receiving it. And so at this point, I have to start thinking about, okay, if I'm adding leads to this, they've got to have the buyer's agent. And so I'm starting to think of, okay, do I need a form for this? Am I going to manually input that contact and just make sure that they have a buyer's agent before I add them into the workflow manually? Start thinking about these kind of things as you build this out and start to reference different values that you want to use in your automations. Okay. So that's your text message. Other actions that you can put in here that we like, especially for something like a realtor referral, you can throw a manual call action in here. So this is pretty cool because this is going to basically just create a task, and it's going to create a task for you that ends up showing up on your dashboard, and you can create dialing sessions by adding multiple manual calls to your queue of calls to complete, and it basically works like a power dialer where you can rotate through calls. I actually just did a live video in our Facebook community, and during that we demonstrated the entire functionality of the power dialer function of HighLevel. And so I'll put a link to that video in the description. If you don't see it, feel free to shoot a comment, reach out in any way, and we'll make sure we get you connected with that. But that is the power dialer functionality expanded version. In here, just know that you can add your manual calls to a queue, that you then can execute that queue and rotate through all of those calls in one sitting, while having the ability to disposition each call in between the calls that are made. So really cool functionality there. So we like this manual call. Another one that we like, that we don't use very often, we don't have clients use very often, is the automatic call function. So this is like if you have a team and you're connecting them with leads, this is almost like a live transfer, like a live outbound transfer, right? So less hot than a live transfer, obviously. But what this is going to do is this is going to force a call to the user that is assigned to the lead. And then it's going to play whatever message you put in this call whisper field. So for an example, to give you kind of an idea of what I'm talking about or what I'm going for here is like, you have a new lead, press any button to connect, right? And so that's going to play to the user that is assigned to the lead. And then if they press any button, it is going to automatically start dialing that lead and connect you on a call. So a cool functionality if you have a team that you're managing and you want to force them to make the actions, or if you're just trying to hold yourself accountable to that kind of stuff. Again, we don't have a ton of experience with it. We don't have a ton of interest, haven't had a ton of interest expressed. We also haven't marketed a ton either. So yeah, if you have experience with this, please let us know in the comments. Let me know in the comments. Join our Facebook group and share the information there, because we love this stuff. Obviously, I love this stuff. Okay, cool. So that's a call, right? We can drop a ringless voicemail. So this is, this I probably wouldn't use. In like cold lead follow-up if it's a realtor referral and you make it clear in the voicemail that it's a pre-recorded message, right, that you're not trying to trick them in any way, right? Then this can be handy still. This can be useful. Weekly updates to your database if you want to drop everybody a voicemail. That's kind of a cool functionality. I know that's how Barry Habib used to deliver the MBS highway stuff. I don't know if he still does it that way. But cool functionality there. But again, not something we used to include these in every outbound or every like internet lead campaign that we implemented for clients. We used to include these ringless voicemails and would have them record their voicemails. Over time, it's just been played out, overdone. And so I think that a lot of consumers associate that like no ring with a voicemail drop to spam. At least some of your more like advanced consumers. And I tend to try and I tend to consider myself a more advanced consumer, and I try to like take those feelings that I have and feelings that I have from some of our clients that are more advanced like that, and kind of filter that and see if and take that logic and use it. So rather be safe than sorry. Don't want to come off as spammy if that's not our brand, if that's not something that we are constantly playing with. And so we just take ringless voicemails out, and those campaigns work just as well. So anyways, long explanation of that, but we also have some other cool functionality that again we don't use hugely internally, but a lot of different industries will use this as a means of connecting with their clients on Facebook. And so you can send Facebook messages, you can send Instagram DMs, even Google My Business messages, which is pretty cool. And then obviously you can tag your leads, you can send internal notifications. This one's pretty cool, right? Being able to send a text message, custom number. So I can put my phone number or my agent's phone number. And I can say, if I want to make this specific to one agent, I can throw it in there, or I can even use a merge tag if I have, let me see if I have it in here. But if I have like buyer's agent phone number in here, let me see. I'm not seeing it. So I'll just use this to show you as an example. So if I had my buyer's agent's phone number saved as part of the as part of the account as well, as part of the custom field associated with that lead, then I could input it here. I could also set up my agent as a user if I wanted to, and assign leads to them. That's another cool way to use the system. There's a few different ways, but basically this notification is essentially, rather than contacting the contact, you can predefine whether you want to contact a user, send an email to a custom email address, send a text to a custom phone number, and this is for just being able to give notifications of stuff happening in the process. So again, if I was using this to communicate with an agent, I would say, hey, got your referral, just put the call on my calendar for this time or something like that. That would be a good way to use that internal notification function. Now, there's a ton of stuff that you can do. Obviously, this video, we're not going to go into everything. But I do want to show you kind of an example of like how we would set up one of these workflows. So this is one of our clients' accounts, and this is a live workflow that we use every day, or that he uses every day. And so this is going to show you basically with an inbound lead, what are we going to do with it, right? And so if it's a purchase lead, we've got a purchase sequence. If it's a refi lead, we've got a refi sequence. So notice the logic, right? I didn't even go into the logic. This is really cool, being able to create different branches. We did this based on tags, but if your leads are filling out a form, you can use that form data as filters. So you can say, hey, if credit score is less than this score, do this with this. But if the credit score is greater than this score, then do this, and have a different follow-up sequence. Maybe somebody with higher income and higher credit score, you want more manual actions involved. That's why we have like this low probability campaign. So there's a couple steps that you're not seeing in here as far as how all of this ends up getting executed, but you can see the general idea and what's possible, which is what I was trying to convey in this video. So that's really all we got. I mean, like I said, these I'll show you how long these go out, I suppose. So you notice you can set these wait times in between steps. That's another thing I should have added in here, is setting wait times in between steps, so that that's how you basically define the cadence that you're sending these messages out. So obviously you don't want to just go back to back. If I go in here SMS and then I go in here email, okay, and then I come back here and I do another text message. Okay, those are all going to go out basically at the same time, like within milliseconds of each other. And so we definitely don't want that. How do you solve that? Well, SMS and email, first off, you can group those together, no problem. So I'll just show you the break here. You're going to put a wait step, and you can define, all right, do I want this to be for minutes? Do I want this to be for hours or days? And then you can even go seconds by breaking these minutes into a fraction. This is a cool little hack that a lot of people don't know. So we'll use this 15-second break between messages a lot by putting 0.2 in here, 0.2 minutes, right? Some people say that 0.2 minutes means 20 seconds. I don't know how HighLevel actually has this set up, but like the math nerd in me would want to say that's wrong, and 20% of a minute is 15 seconds. Ooh, that's wrong too. Is 12 seconds. Thank you. 12 seconds. So 20% of a minute is 12 seconds. So I don't know. Who cares? But here it is. Like I said, you can wait a day. All right, wait a day. Or you can set it to send this between certain hours on a certain day. So a lot of cool stuff you can do here. Last thing I'm going to show you within this is to make sure that you go into these settings and that you set this up, that you configure this the way that you want it. You want to define whether or not you want a contact to be able to go through this workflow more than once or not. You want to define whether or not you want this workflow to stop sending messages when they respond or not. So an example of where you wouldn't be would be internet lead follow-up, right? right? We're designing that campaign to try and get them engaged, to try and get them to talk to us. If we don't stop that campaign when they respond, then they're going to get messages that imply that we haven't talked to them, and we're going to look like an idiot. And so that one, we want to make sure we toggle this stop on response. Okay. And then your time windows, defining it at the workflow. You saw like the wait until specified time window from just a minute ago. But what I would be doing is making sure that you're defining at the workflow level when you want messages to go out. An email only campaign can have no time parameters, for example, or you can limit it to only the hours that you know that your prospects are most likely to open emails based on data. A text message campaign, you're going to want to define within business hours, within reasonable business hours. If you don't want text to go out on Sunday, then this is where you're going to define that. And you're going to do that in every workflow that you implement, because some workflows you're not going to need that. Some workflows are going to be purely administrative, in which case you want that to be able to happen anytime. So anyways, that is workflows and how you can use workflows in HighLevel as a way to automate your lead follow-up. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you at the top.